a report from the World Health Organization has revealed a troubling statistic. Alcohol consumption and the use of psychoactive drugs result in an estimated 2.6 million deaths globally each year. And that accounts for nearly 5% of all deaths in the world. The report, which is titled Global Status Report on Alcohol and Health and Treatment of Substance Abuse Disorders, also highlights a concerning gender disparity as these substances disproportionately affect men. So this morning, we decided to just take a moment to examine alcohol-related sales, especially around the festive season, how much typically South Africans spend on alcohol, and many of the other related issues. And to help us have this conversation, let's bring in National Liquor Traders Council convener Ntimane, who's with us once again in studio. Happy New Year, compliments, all those great things. Thanks for popping by.
Thank you so much, and compliments of the season to SABC News viewers.
Yeah, it's always an opportunity for us to speak about perhaps some of the behaviors that we're seeing in this country. And around December, a lot of them are fueled, for better or for worse, by alcohol consumption. Let me just get a sense from you, broadly speaking, how satisfied you are about how this festive period has fared insofar as those consumption levels are concerned?
I think for us, we like to measure it with regards to the responsibility thereof, meaning that our traders would have created safer environments for our consumers to consume alcohol in a responsible manner. We are quite satisfied that we feel we have achieved that target. We haven't seen a lot of incidents that could be linked to our traders not adhering to specific conditions that govern their license to trade. But we've also seen some disturbing news where the rotten potatoes continue to hog the limelight. Those that consume alcohol in an irresponsible way continue to shine, a dark spot, on the alcohol industry, which by large and far has done quite well, I think, in the past 4 years when we're at the tail end of COVID-19, where our traders have really taken a positive step in ensuring that they sell alcohol in a responsible manner, and our consumers have responded positively in ensuring that they also play their part and consume alcohol responsibly.
Yeah, and quite a few consumers you have, I'll tell you that much. A few numbers, of course, are being bandied about, and you and I were speaking off air about one of them, a 7 billion rand. I still don't know where that comes from. But again, from the people that you interact with, what are those levels looking like, at least for this festive season?
I think a festive season will always represent a greater opportunity for traders to earn an extra income. The estimates are that almost 30% of our sales are made in December. So that is quite a high number. And it lends itself in the fact that a lot of companies are closed, a lot of people are off work, so they have more time to enjoy themselves. And so the numbers that we have seen, on various social media platforms, some were about 6 billion, some were about 7 billion in 7 days. It was quite alarming, but we have no way of verifying where those numbers are coming from, so we will not really want to really comment on that. Be that as it may, I think our country has a lot of people that consume alcohol in a responsible way, and those that support various outlets, during December time in our townships. So our taverns really find opportunity to make an extra buck in December. But I also, maybe with this opportunity, I'd like to highlight the differences between the space in which we trade in and other various sectors of the alcohol space. So we have what we call on-consumption. So on-consumption is where you buy alcohol and you consume it on-site. So that will be your taverns, that will be your bars, that will be your restaurants. But we also have what we call an off-site consumption. So that will be your bottle stores, that will be your retailers like your Pick and Pay, Tops, and ShopRite Liquor and the like. So where you buy and you consume at home. So what we have seen, that there seems to be a high number of people that prefer to consume alcohol at the comfort of their own homes. And how do we see this? We see this in how it lends itself in drink and driving, how it lends itself in jaywalking, where people are being knocked off by vehicles whilst they're walking after having consumed alcohol. So those actually become most of the issues that we have to address in the December period, where the issue of even underage drinking, where the youngsters find an opportunity to now want to try, being excited through the means of alcohol, which they should not even be partaking of because they're not of the right legal age to be doing so. So these are the issues that we are highlighting that are a problem that we need need to address during the summer period. But insofar as we are concerned as liquor traders, we feel that this was a good December for us.
Sure. Speaking of some of those issues, and who can ever forget, of course, what took place at Enyobeni even years later, it still stands out as really quite a blemish in the relationship we have with alcohol. And that's what I was really hoping to speak to you about. I'm tempted to ask you whether you think South Africa has a drinking problem, but given the fact that this is in line with your bread and butter, it might be a difficult question to answer. So let me ask the question in this way. Can we improve the relationship, do you think, that we have with alcohol as South Africans?
I think we need to ask all the questions. The questions that you're asking are very relevant. I think what we have done as a country, and we have succeeded in doing this, was actually to avoid the very same questions. We have managed to sweep the issue of alcohol abuse in our country under the carpet for so long. And I think what COVID did is it highlighted the importance of actually us having this type of conversations. People seemed shocked that, we have an issue, especially the irresponsible usage of alcohol. So if, for example, we have 100 people that are drinking and 95 are drinking in a correct manner, the 5 that abuse alcohol seem to be doing so in such a way that it almost blemishes the 95 that are doing well. And we need to be able to address that. We must not say that because those that are drinking in an irresponsible way are few, then we must ignore that. I think we need to find solutions, and we believe that the solution doesn't only lie with the liquor traders, but it lies with civil society, it lies with the communities, but also we need to take into cognizance the causal factors or the societal issues that might be giving rise to people thinking that alcohol is a solution or that alcohol is a place where they can find solace to dealing with whatever issues that they have. I don't think as a country we have had that conversation, and I think it's about time that we do so. We do not have to wait for December period for us to be addressing the issue of alcohol abuse in our country. We know a relative, 1 or 2 in our space, who are drinking alcohol in a way that they shouldn't. We know one of our cousins, our brothers, who gets behind the steering wheel after they have consumed alcohol. What are we doing about it? We cannot sit back and say the alcohol industry is going to address my cousin getting behind the wheel after they have consumed alcohol. We ought to take responsibility also as citizens. What are we doing in our space so that we're able to fix this issue once and for all?
Sure. And we'll speak about the responsibility nonetheless that you do have. Yes, you can't solve everything, but I'm sure there's a role you can play. Before that, though, I found that typically the issue here is not even just the volume of alcohol that people are drinking. It's the fact that it's binge drinking. It's how much you're having in a very short space of time. And I think that also introduces a lot of interesting questions around, again, how we interact with the substance. Is that something that you reckon, we're paying enough attention to? Just the fact that people drink a lot very quickly, as opposed to, I suppose, a more steady type of consumption rate over a much longer time?
You are spot on. And in fact, Heineken beverages identified that as an issue as early as last year, where they are running programs across the country focusing on liquor traders that are operating within TVET colleges. And the idea behind that is that you want to address especially the students, those that are above 18, those that are new into the drinking space, that, you inculcate the culture of drinking responsibly if they actually make that decision to drink alcohol. Because we have seen, amongst the teens, the youngsters, that, when they drink alcohol, they want, it's as if there's a competition or there's an Olympic sport for them to want to finish a bottle quicker than, their peers. So we are running programs in partnership with Heineken Beverages to ensure that, we inculcate a culture of responsible consumption for the youth that have made a decision, a conscious decision to consume alcohol. So yes, we do agree that binge drinking is a issue in our country, and I'm glad that a big industry giant like Heineken has come to the party and supporting us in our initiatives to ensure that we deal with this.
Yeah, we once had really heated debates around how we interact with cigarettes because of the health implications and things like that. One of the resolutions was perhaps doing away with cigarette advertising, which eventually happened. And when I said that we're going to speak about the role that you can play, I wonder if you would back calls, for example, that perhaps we should think about capping alcohol advertising if we are able to get to a point where there's going to be a much healthier interaction with the substance. Simply put, do you think that's a solution?
We don't think that is a solution, but we do welcome, the efforts to wanting to address this issue. But if you look at the report that was published by the WHO, it's not only focused on alcohol, but it's focused on other drugs. And you know that drugs in South Africa are actually a problem, and they are not advertised. There's no social media clips or adverts on these drugs that our youth are taking or the general population are taking, and yet it continues to be a problem in our society. So advertising cannot generally be linked to how people consume alcohol, because we contend that the majority of people in South Africa do drink alcohol in a responsible way. I think maybe the conversation ought to be that we need to maybe have more advertising focusing on responsible usage of alcohol rather than glorifying maybe certain brands. I think that conversation will be welcome, where we push the liquor manufacturers that maybe a certain budget should be aimed at creating awareness through the advertising power or spend, to also push the issue of how do people ought to be drinking, or how people ought to be drinking alcohol, and what is the responsible usage thereof, and also supporting liquor traders in ensuring that they continue to create safe spaces where people can consume alcohol in a responsible manner. But as it is, we don't think that curtailing alcohol advertising is going to reduce the consumption thereof. There's no science to back that up.
You started off by conceding that there are important conversations around alcohol in the country that we should have had, but we're simply not having. Yes. And I suppose my question to you then is, are you as an industry willing to spearhead the roping in of these different players so that we can finally do that? In many instances, you need some kind of, financial muscle to pull off gatherings where you can bring different stakeholders together. And if the numbers are anything to go by, money doesn't seem to be an issue for people who run these establishments. And you'll set me right if I'm wrong. But anyway, on a serious note, is it not time for traders to spearhead the process of finally getting us around the table to say, guys, alcohol in and of itself may not be an issue, but the way we are just going about its consumption in some cases brings about life-changing events in some instances?
You are right. And I think this will need to be done by a collective, not just liquor traders, but those that make this alcohol, liquor manufacturers, your South African breweries, your Heineken beverages, your Pernod Ricard, your Diageo. We'll need to have a body of some sort that will coordinate efforts to ensure that we create a responsible drinking culture in South Africa. Yes, I do believe that the majority consume alcohol responsibly, but I think we have an opportunity to address irresponsible usage thereof of those that do not seem to be drinking responsibly. Why is it that every year, this time of the year, we have to address the issue of alcohol usage? It's because there are clear evidences, clear signs that there is a problem in the country where people get excited, when they come into contact with alcohol. We cannot ignore that. Some of the road deaths could be easily linked to alcohol usage, and we cannot run away from that. As much as we sell alcohol to make a living, but we are members of society, we are members of our community. We see ourselves as being a part of community before we are business people. So it will be unfair of us to want to put the profits ahead of the social welfare of our people. So yes, we do welcome efforts, any effort that would ensure that we create a safe drinking culture in South Africa. It's not a nice thing to be number 5 on the map of countries that drink a lot of alcohol. Maybe if we were number 5 of people that drink alcohol in a responsible way, we'll take that title. But to be on a negative, it's something that we need to work very hard on. And yes, as I've said earlier, it's not just only our responsibility, but civil society communities, we need to play our part in ensuring that we inculcate the culture of responsible drinking in our societies, not just at a tavern level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my mind, a lot of people look forward to December primarily because of the alcohol, and there's something to be said about that as well. But that's a whole other discussion. Like Ntimane, thanks for coming in and speaking to us. I appreciate it. Certainly is a discussion that I think stretches beyond just our own interaction, but should involve a whole lot more people. But nonetheless, we appreciate your voice and for always making time to speak to us. Like Ntimane is the National Liquor Traders Council convener as we take stock of the year gone by, more specifically the festive season gone by, especially when it comes to alcohol consumption.